My name is Ali Khalid, and today we'll be talking about augmented reality in surgical training for junior trainees and senior trainees as well. Through our study, Augmented Reality Reshaping Surgical Training, Trainer and Organisational Benefits on the Path to Kirkpatrick Mastery. I work as an intern part of the Clinical Excellence team in Inovus Medical. Inovus Medical is a company that have been using augmented reality and simulation in laparoscopic procedures and have developed multiple different devices that uses augmented reality in teaching trainees surgical skills across different procedures. So just a little bit of background. Since 2019, when COVID-19 started, there has been a very big shift in the way surgical training works. Surgical training have been evolving since then, since there is very reduced opportunity for trainees to practice in real life. Adding to that, the patient safety importance and the importance of assessing skills before practicing on patients have been of utmost importance. From there, an augmented reality-based surgical simulator have been developed to capture and imagine an objective performance in surgical training, but its evaluation across Kirkpatrick pyramid remains essential to evaluate its effectiveness. Now, we have to talk about Kirkpatrick pyramid. Kirkpatrick pyramid is a hierarchical framework that's used to evaluate training programs in different sections and different sectors. Starting with level 1, reaction, which measures the response of the participants in a training program. Level 2, learning, which measures the skill acquisition of trainees in a training program. And then level 3, which dives into behavior. Behavior, we're talking here about the transferability and transmittability of the skills acquired in real world context. And then level 4 ultimately is results. So that talks about the organizational benefits and the trainees' benefits. So the purpose of this study is to comprehensively assess the impact of augmented reality based surgical simulation using Kirkpatrick pyramid as a guiding framework across different sections. We've also touched on the global impact of this augmented reality-based surgical simulation in laparoscopic procedures, specifically relating to the Sustainable Development Goals in 2030 by the United Nations. What we've hypothesized in here is that the augmented reality-based surgical simulator not only enhances surgical skills and improves confidence, but also satisfies all the 4 levels of Kirkpatrick pyramid, namely learning, reaction, behavior, and results. Now, starting with our methodology, we had a comprehensive assessment of the augmented reality-based surgical simulation across both Kirkpatrick pyramid and the Sustainable Development Goals, involving a multifaceted approach using different number of studies to identify and evaluate the different levels of Kirkpatrick. Starting with level 1, self-confidence assessment. What we've done is that we employed a pre and post training survey that utilized Likert scaling as well as qualitative analyses to identify the self-confidence improvements within the participants. What that revealed is a self-confidence improvement of 3.82, a Likert scale of P's equaling 0.018. In the interview analyses, it was found that training method was very much preferred at the start of the surgical training for junior trainees. It was also suggested by some participants that they make a mandatory part of their surgical training. And they also, some of them also require extended period of time using the training kits. That goes to show and resonates with the Sustainability Development Goal number 4, quality education, fostering a positive standardized learning experience, and that transcends technical skills and cultivates self-confidence And to the right, we see the Sustainable Development Goal number 4, ensuring and emphasizing on the quality education, ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education that promote lifelong learning opportunities, which is what the augmented reality simulator is trying to do. Level 2, learning, skill acquisition, using the training program. We've designed a pilot study with 15 participants that examines the junior trainees' performance in 2 procedures, appendectomies, and that is the removal of the appendix, and then vaginal cuff closure, which is a gynecological procedure here. We've focused on 2 metrics that plays the most important role in any procedure, which is completion time and this completion time of the procedure and the distance traveled during laparoscopic procedure. What we've found in here, and you can see to the right, is a statistically significant reduction in both completion time and distance traveled within the 15 participants across 15 attempts for each participant. We see on both trends in here declining in both time to completion and distance traveled across the 15 participants. That was statistically significant findings with p-values of less than 0.01 and less than 0.05 for both time reduction and distance travel, respectively. These results goes to show it doesn't only satisfy level 2 of learning of Kirkpatrick, but also resonate within Sustainability Development Goal number 3, which is good health and well-being, since this is promoting enhanced healthcare delivery through improved surgical skills and reduced procedural time. To the left, we can see on this axis. To the left, we can see Sustainable Development Goal number 3, ensuring health lives and promote well-being at all ages. Assessing level 3, behavior. Literature review was conducted analyzing 9 randomized controlled trials published that evaluate the translatability of AR and VR surgical simulation. And in this table, we can see the 9 different studies with the characteristics. The 9 studies majorly focused on gallbladder resection, cholecystectomy, namely, and laparoscopic splangiectomies. So that's also a gynecological procedure, removal of the ovaries. And then lastly, it was inguinal hernias repair, laparoscopically. We can see a mean overall translatability across the 9 studies of 28%. This literature review findings uncovered the translatability of these skills using augmented reality and virtual reality-based surgical simulation with the 28% as highlighted earlier. And this resonates with the Sustainability Development Goal number 9, using industry, innovation, and infrastructure to find a practice to not only enhance surgical skills, but also underscores a practical applicability of the skills acquired in your life. This concept resonates with the Sustainability Development Goal number 9 by mirroring the broader perspective of using innovation for technological innovation and societal progress. Assessing level 4 results. So assessing the organizational benefits of adopting such training. We've utilized a BMJ peer review that used appendectomies as a chosen example to find the kind of health economic study cost effectiveness. And what we found is increased efficiency, reduced complication rate, and improved surgical skills. And that led us to saving per patient of £79, ranging from 79 to 455 pounds, which is equivalent in dollars to $90 to $517. That is with a 10 to 100% translation of time. Extrapolated that to a first-year saving in the NHS in comparison to the US system, what we found is that within the NHS, about 1,200 hospitals A first year saving could range from £700,000 at a 10% translation. In the US, that means a $4 million with a larger number of hospitals. This leads us to the conclusion of this study. So the novel augmented reality-based surgical simulation have showcased a favorable outcomes across all levels of Kirkpatrick pyramid. There is a strong base evidence that have been established by this study for faster skill acquisition, improved self-confidence, and safety. It was found that it was a preferred and more effective at providing clinical skills, translatable, scalable, and cost-effective laparoscopic training. And then the alignment with the Sustainable Development Goals not only shows the skill acquisition using these laparoscopic simulators, but also reinforces the importance of this research in its societal implications and global implications, working toward the Sustainable Development Goals in 2030. Now, future work that could be suggested by this research is that as we move on, a lot of exciting opportunities are coming. Future research into refining the augmented reality and augmented reality methods and across different specialties. As we see here, we only focused on 2 specialties. And expanding across different advanced applications as well. Augmented reality has a role in shaping the future of surgical simulation and surgical training. Deeper dive into complication rates, increased patient turnover, and economic benefits could be done in the future. These results project augmented reality as a promising solution, really, that not only improves surgical skill acquisition, but also align with the Sustainable Development Goals. And that could raise a potential new gold standard in surgical training. Thank you very much for listening. This is our acknowledgement for the team of clinical excellence, including myself, Dr. David Rawaf, Dr. Matthew Harris, Dr. Mohammed Al-Bahnasawi, Dr. Joseph Thomas, Dr. Samuel Coleman, Dr. Nawab Zainalul, Professor Pramod Luthra, and Professor Jeremy Brown. Thank you.
Thank you. Mohammed Al-Bahnasawi from Egypt. Yeah, okay. Any question?
I hope that makes sense. I know it's very medical.
Yeah. Well, the question for me, but it's very interesting piece of research.
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I'd quite like to ask some questions about the nature of the learning and what is being learned. And in particular, in learning about and then implementing these medical procedures, how codified is the knowledge being taught on the training? How codified are the procedures? How standardized are the procedures? Is there scope for clinicians to adapt what they learn to context, or would that be a departure from the safe procedure?
Right, very good question, thank you. So if I could elaborate more on the BMJ peer review study that I've highlighted earlier. So that talked about the translatability of the skills acquired in the training. So we've only included 9 randomized control trials where in translatability what they measure is they do a pre-assessment skill and that focuses on different metrics including distance travel, completion time, smoothness and movements and
following the same procedures.
Exactly, so that is before, and then what they do in these studies is that they do a post kind of training assessment of the same surgeons, and they do a case control kind of study where they have a control kind of group and a case group where they have the implementation, and then they do a cross section where that's for ethical values, and that's what we're planning to do with Inovus very soon. Is having a PhD in one of the universities in London for a translatability study, which takes a very long time for it to collect the data because it needs ethical approvals amongst other things. But what that basically measures is the translatability of these skills. And what this study found from a literature review of 9 randomized controlled trials is not 28% translatability of skills acquired. So I guess that hopefully answers your question.
No, it does, yes, thank you. It just leads me on to a very interesting, in my view, comparison between your model of learning and the model of learning that Imelda presented earlier. So, your model, taking Kirkpatrick's pyramid, starts with reaction, how I respond to the training, then I learn and I acquire the skills in sequence, and then after I've acquired the skills, I change my behaviour accordingly, and that change of behaviour happens after the skill acquisition, which seems commonsensical, doesn't it? And then there's impact. I mean, if I implement accurately, correctly, skillfully,
Yes.
compliantly, then the terms you use to measure effective practice, distance
Yes.
travelled and so on,
Yes.
improve, and there are organisational and cost benefits.
Yes.
That's in direct contrast to the learning process that Imelda was presenting, where learning can take place before some kind of practice change, but most professional learning of teachers takes place in the context of practice, because teachers, unlike the clinicians, have to adapt the ideas introduced during the training to the particular context of children in the classroom. And so the expert teacher isn't necessarily the compliant learner, it's the highly adaptive learner who uses the learning as a starting point to adapting practice, and then they adapt practice, and through the experimental adaptation, learning occurs, which is why Kirkpatrick's pyramid mastery simply doesn't apply to the teaching context. But I can see exactly in a codified arena that you inhabit. It makes sense.
Well, thank you very much. It really is a good perspective point, and I think I could add to that by saying teaching is more of an ideological sharing and connection between this teacher and the students, whereas in my case in here, we're requiring applicable physical skills rather than ideological skills. So it doesn't really, what it does require is refinement of hand movements, that reduction in completion time of a procedure, that reduction in the distance traveled within the patient tummy in laparoscopic procedures. So where Kirkpatrick comes in is because we've got physical and the way to really put it in is way more quantifiable data.
Quantifiable because the underpinning knowledge is codified.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that leads us to kind of use Kirkpatrick pyramid as a gold standard, really, to use to evaluate many training programs that depends on skill acquisition and handy skill acquisition.
Yeah, very interesting. Apart from the use of the word ideological, I think we prefer so the kind of learning and action of a teacher is certainly concerned with moral craft. It's certainly ethical judgment and definitely professional judgment. Balancing all the time.
Definitely, that's the ultimate goal. Thank you.
Regarding to the economic benefit, you mentioned that there are some numbers of saving has been made because of using virtual reality and augmented reality or extreme reality, for example. But how can we see that those numbers achieve the most efficient economic approach? Did you compare it with another brand or another sector? Or did you use using this type of technology over time will save a lot? I need to make a comparison issue to see that this value added as an economic efficiency more reliable to depend on in this issue. So we have to compare with another issue, vertically or horizontally for different years or with different sectors.
Right.
I want to comment from a commercial point of view to use the return on investment comparing with the cost for applying the virtual reality?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, very good question. Thank you.
Yeah.
What I could respond to that with is that usually what we compare with is the traditional training programs, which majorly relies on catheters and practices with the traditional forms of practices. So that involves buying